All right, folks, we're turning our attention now to Texas, where the state is now expected to rest their case in chief tomorrow in the Uvalde school massacre trial of Adrian Gonzalez. The former school district officer is accused of failing to confront the school shooter that killed 19 students and 2 teachers in 2022. Joining us for all the latest on that trial is Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson. All right, Matt, give us the latest from today.
Michael, nice to see you. Another big day there in Texas. As you mentioned, the state could rest as early as tomorrow morning. The state of Texas, that jury hearing from 34 witnesses over the past 8 days of this trial. And today, another key witness was on the stand, the defendant paying close attention. This was him in court earlier today, Adrian Gonzalez, as the jury must consider his actions on the day in question. Today, Sergeant Daniel Coronado was walking the jury through this body camera video and the radio traffic that correlates with that during that terrible day. Here's part of his testimony. Let's watch together.
Were you concerned about kids at all?
From the moment I got there, yes, sir.
Okay. And so you went into the building too?
Yes, sir.
And tell us what happened when you went into the building.
As I entered the building on the south side, we slowed down a little bit and were quickly walking through the hallways. As I'm entering the building, I'm looking around, and the first thing I notice is the entire hallway is dark. It's dark, there's no lights on. I see what appeared to be smoke throughout the entire hallway.
Could you smell anything?
Smell something burnt, something was burning. I could smell.
Have you been around gunfire before?
Yes, sir.
Have you practiced on the practice range?
Yes, sir.
And fired guns?
Yes, sir.
What did that burn smell like?
It smelled like gunpowder.
19 students, 2 teachers died in that mass shooting. The case soon in the hands of this jury there in Texas, Michael.
Now, Matt, can you walk us through, there was lots of body cam video in this case. Walk us through some of that body cam video.
Yeah, and this is such key evidence. The question for the jury, could the school resource officer Gonzalez have done more on that fateful day? Well, where he's located and when he was there, that's the question for the jury. You recognize this? This was the map during opening statements, and I want to show you what's not at question right now is where the suspect was. He was neutralized, he was shot during that day, but after 77 minutes, after police had responded, his action started with the crashed car here after shooting and killing his grandmother. Then he was spotted on campus in the teacher parking lot, makes his way up this side of the building, enters through this door. Whether or not that was locked, that's a big question, and then makes his way to his old home room. That's room 111 or 112. That's where most of the victims were ultimately located. As for the defendant, Gonzalez, he's one of the first on the scene. He enters the complex of what ends up being the crime scene overall on the campus. He ends up stationed over here. This is the south entrance that you hear quite a lot about. The big question for the jury, could he have acted sooner? Should he have moved from his vehicle here and inside this building, that south entrance, sooner? So today, the jury was going methodically. They were being shown that body camera video. They were also playing the police response, Gonzalez's response and calling back to dispatch. They were pausing the video at times and mirroring those two together. They're creating the timeline that this jury is going to consider during their deliberations, which could be as early as tomorrow. Jury makeup, 11 women, 5 men in the box. That includes the 4 alternates. Gonzalez, as you know, faces 29 counts, child endangerment, up to 58 years behind bars if convicted, Michael.
All right, Matt Johnson, thank you so much for that. Great stuff. Truly appreciate it. All right, folks, what we're going to do now is get you back inside that courtroom in Texas. We're going to pick it up with testimony from former Sergeant Coronado. He's testifying on direct about responding to the scene.
Lights and sirens were on.
Can you repeat the question?
Before you turned off your vehicle, were the lights and sirens on?
Are you referring back to when I was at the police department?
The trip down Grove Street.
I never turned off my vehicle, no, sir.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So no, when I got to the intersection, I put it in park, and immediately saw officers taking cover behind the vehicles. They were at the time, they were receiving gunfire, as what I perceived to be receiving gunfire.
When you say you perceived that they were receiving gunfire, describe how you came to that decision.
Well, so as I was approaching, I saw them taking cover, which means that they were they were on the north side of their vehicles. Their vehicles were facing east. And they were behind the vehicles. And when I got off the vehicle, I could hear gunfire going off. I made my way to where they were at, and my first question was, where's it coming from? They said that they didn't know.
So you had gunfire, but you didn't know where it was coming from?
No, sir.
And the other officers didn't at that time know where it was coming from?
No, sir.
Was there anything in addition to the gunfire that was consistent with the dispatch about the wreck and the shots fired? Did you see a wreck?
No, sir, I did not see a wreck.
Okay. Did you see a truck in a ditch?
No, sir.
Okay. What did you do when you got out of the vehicle, asked the officers where the shots were coming from? What did you do then?
So, as soon as I got off my vehicle, it was a matter of seconds before I asked them where the shooter was, where they were receiving gunfire. One of the officers says he didn't know, or both of them. I'm not sure. Both of them responded they didn't know. As I am trying to figure out what the gunfire is, I don't hear any rounds coming in my direction. I don't hear the vehicle taking any rounds. So at that point, I decide to get up and look over the vehicle and try to determine where the shots are coming from. I don't see anything. I don't know where they're coming from. But maybe a second or two is when I look over to my left behind me and I see people yelling from the funeral home, and they're yelling out, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. My concern at that point was for them, so I start yelling at them to get back into the building. But as they're yelling at me, I could hear them saying, "He's running towards the school. He's running towards the school." So at that point, then
Let me stop you right there.
Yes, sir.
I believe you said that your officers were taking fire.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you heard those shots while you were still in your car?
So
I'm trying to understand, because at one point you say you don't hear any shots, but also you say that you were taking fire. I'm just trying to...
Did I say that I didn't hear any gunfire?
At one point you said you peeked up because you weren't hearing gunfire.
No. So I didn't hear rounds whizzing over my head. Typically what happens is when you're receiving gunfire, I mean, you can hear rounds going overhead. So that was when I said I don't hear any rounds come in my direction. I don't hear any rounds coming towards me specifically, but I do hear the percussion of the gun going off. And I mean, it's a matter of seconds that I'm trying to figure out all this stuff that's coming in my head and figuring out where the shooter is. And I know that I don't hear my vehicle getting hit or their vehicle getting hit. I don't hear glass break. I don't hear rounds penetrate.
All right, coming to the top of the hour, folks, have to take a break. Thanks to Marlo Greer for joining us this afternoon. Stick around, because coming up, Judge Ashley Wilcott joins me next for more testimony in the Uvalde school massacre trial of Adrian Gonzalez. So keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala, and we're both here today giving you your front row seat to justice. And we are heading back now to Texas for more key testimony in the trial of Adrian Gonzalez.
Gonzalez was one of the first officers to arrive on the scene at Robb Elementary School back in 2022, where a man opened fire, killing 19 students and 2 teachers.
Prosecutors say Gonzalez stood among more than 400 officers who waited more than 77 minutes before confronting the shooter. shooter.
Right now in court, we're listening to a Uvalde police officer describe what it was like as police entered the school as that gunman was still actively firing.
So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where those rounds are coming from, and when I don't hear that, I'm trying to look, determine where the individual could be.
And that didn't assist you when you tried to look yourself?
When I came up to the intersection, the distance from that location to the school is probably over a football field, maybe 130, 40 yards from where I was at to the school. And anywhere in between there, I'm trying to look and see where the shooter is. So I don't know. I mean, that's a large area to cover to be able to scan and look for rounds coming your way, and also understand that I'm also receiving gunfire at that time, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
When you say you're receiving gunfire, then that's different from shots going off. Why did you say receiving gunfire?
Well, again, like I said, I went with what I saw at the time, which was officers that were taking cover. I determined that I determined that the rounds weren't hitting the vehicle. So that's when I was trying to just stick my head out and try to figure out where these rounds are coming from.
So
I don't know.
Receiving gunfire, what does that mean to the jury?
To me, at that moment, I know that there were shots being fired, but I don't know where. I don't hear rounds hitting the vehicle, so I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not receiving gunfire. Does that make sense?
And why does it not mean that you necessarily are not receiving gunfire?
Well, I'm trying to make that determination in my head is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to make that determination where the rounds are, where they're coming from, all those things in a matter of 10 seconds, 8 seconds.
Sure. So a round could be coming your direction and not hitting a vehicle.
Correct.
And you could still be receiving gunfire.
Yes, sir.
And so that's in one part why you're saying you're receiving gunfire.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair?
Yes, sir, that's fair.
I'm sorry. Okay. And so you peek over your vehicle, and you say it's over 100 yards. Is that correct?
That's correct.
To the school.
Well, where I'm positioned at that moment in time, there's an entire open field from that ditch where the vehicle was after the fact that the vehicle was found. From that area, there's an entire open field.
But the vehicle was already there, wasn't it?
Well, I know that now, but at the time, no, I did not know there was a vehicle that was there.
Fair
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to give you an understanding where I'm at, where I'm positioned at the intersection.
Okay.
What I see out there is an open field, and then I see a building, the Robb School buildings.
And was there anybody in the open field?
I could not see anybody, no.
And between the open field and the building, is there a parking lot?
Yes.
And this was a school day?
Yes.
Were there cars in the parking lot?
Yes, I could see vehicles, yes, sir.
In the parking lot?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would that shield the view of somebody behind those vehicles?
It could potentially, yes, sir.
Okay. And so as you looked, you didn't see a gun?
No, sir.
Did you hear any more shots?
I know that, like I said, I know I heard rounds going off initially when I get there. My attention turns back to the individuals that were yelling, and at that point then I ran back to my vehicle, my Tahoe, and I proceeded to see if I can locate the individual shooting rounds.
Because the people at the funeral home were
Yes.
yelling at you?
Yes, sir.
Did they give you a direction to go?
Towards the school, that's all they said. I believe that one of them had said he was running towards the school.
So you hear gunshots, and then a witness tells you he's toward the school. Those two things cause you to act,
Yes, sir.
and you act immediately. as soon as you hear going toward the school, you get up and jump in your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
All right, breaking into our coverage of that trial in Texas because we have breaking news out of New Mexico, where the district attorney is holding a news conference about allegations of child sex abuse by actor-director Timothy Busfield.
Busfield is accused of sexually abusing 2 boys on the set of the television show he directs called The Cleaning Lady. The former West Wing star released a video statement earlier this week denying those allegations.
He made his first appearance in court yesterday, where he was ordered held without bond pending a detention hearing expected in about 5 days or so. Let's go to that press conference now from District Attorney Sam Bergman.
First and foremost, it's important to emphasize that the defendant, Timothy Busfield, is presumed innocent and until and unless he is proven guilty in a court of law. I want to go over the timeline of the recent events in this case. An arrest warrant for the defendant was issued on January 9th, 2026, and approved by my office. 5 days later, the defendant voluntarily turned himself in and was booked into the Metropolitan Detention Center in Albuquerque on January 13th. The defendant is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor, child under 13, and 1 count of child abuse. Under New Mexico law, each count of criminal sexual contact carries up to 6 years of incarceration, and child abuse carries up to 3 years. On Wednesday, the defendant made his initial appearance before a Metropolitan Court judge. At the hearing, the judge ordered the defendant be detained at this time due to our request that he remain in custody pending trial. The district attorney's office routinely files pretrial detention motions involving cases that have these types of charges. Our office has indeed filed a motion for pretrial detention, requesting that the defendant remain in custody while his case proceeds through the courts. The case has now been transferred to district court. Judge Murphy will have a hearing on January 20th at 2 p.m. to determine whether the defendant will remain in custody or be released pending trial. After that hearing, we will bring formal charges against the defendant. The defendant will be arraigned on the formal charges. The court will then set a scheduling conference where deadlines will be established, at which time a trial date will be set. As with all criminal cases referred to my office, my prosecutors will fully evaluate this matter and proceed based on the evidence and in the interest of justice. Anyone with information relating to this matter should contact law enforcement. Our priority is to protect the rights of everyone involved. That is why at this time, we will not discuss the facts of this case. We understand, trust me, I understand. I understand there is great interest regarding the facts and the specifics of this matter. But my first obligation and the obligation of my office is to ensure the integrity of this process. The rules of professional conduct are clear, that prosecutors should try cases in the courtroom and not in the media. And that is what we intend to do. Now, based on what I've just told you, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them, but recognize, please, that I'm going to be limited because, as I said, I'm not going to discuss the specific facts of this case. The professional rules of conduct don't allow me to do that. So if there are things I can answer in a general sense, I will, but and I know they may be frustrated, but I just want you all to know one of the reasons I had this was because our office has been bombarded, and we welcome, and we're transparent. We welcome.
All right, Michael, before we go to the guest, I understand why they held this press conference to give us a timeline, but him making very clear we are not discussing any facts at this time.
Yeah, a lot of facts have leaked out already,
yes.
Right? So there's that.
But also,
questions. Again, talking about specifically, the big issue here is that there'll be a hearing on January 20th, about 5 days from now, to determine whether he will remain in custody until trial. They have filed a motion seeking to keep him in custody until that trial. He did say it was routine, but they made some allegations in that particular motion that suggest maybe this one's not so routine.
And that hearing has to be held within 5 days, which is why it's on the outside end of that on January 20th.
January 20th. Let's bring in our guest. Still with us, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf, very familiar with these types of situations. Jeffrey, I'd love to get your thoughts on what we just heard. Again, they're calling it routine. They're filing this pretrial detention motion. But in that motion, they make some claims, essentially, that he was involved in a similar incident earlier, about 25 years ago. But also, men in his position with power and in that position are able to manipulate things. And that's another reason they're suggesting he needs to stay in jail.
Yeah, I mean, they do speak out of both sides of their mouth when they file a motion giving all the aggravating factors that require him to be held in custody, and then give a press conference saying that this is what they would do in anybody's case. And so you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt when they say those sorts of things at a press conference, because it sounds good to say they're treating him no differently than they would treat anybody else. But the reality of the situation is he is a little bit different than anyone else because of the circumstances that they lay out in their motion, and it is the reason that the court ruled the way they did. In Colorado, this wouldn't stand. Everybody gets bond in Colorado unless they're charged with first-degree murder, but the rules are different state to state. And in New Mexico, this flies. And so they are going to hold him in custody pending further judicial review in 5 days of whether that's going to be allowed. And so we've seen this in a lot of other high-profile cases where the judges are going to keep people in custody to maintain the integrity of the case, to make sure that somebody who is a flight risk is not going to be able to get out and leave, something along those lines. It's a little bit, feels a little bit icky to a defense attorney to see somebody just be able to be locked up when they haven't been convicted of anything. And in this case, the prosecutor just said they haven't even filed formal charges yet. Okay. And so holding somebody in custody when you haven't even formalized the charges yet is rough.
Do you think at all, Jeffrey, that it made a difference that it took him 5 days, Busfield 5 days, to turn himself in before, since that arrest warrant? Some are saying, what was he doing during that 5 days? Why did it take him that long?
I don't think it's unusual at all. As somebody who represents people who find out they have a warrant and then have all kinds of affairs to get in order before they can go into custody, especially when his lawyer probably advised him, hey, they're going to keep you in custody for God knows how long. Imagine the amount of things in your life that you would need to get in order when you go into custody. If you have pets, if you have rent or a mortgage or a car payment, you have family members that you're going to basically be saying goodbye to, all of the things in your life that you would have to get in order before you would potentially go away for months or years. I don't think it's unusual whatsoever.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of, Jeffrey and Judge, is that maybe he and his attorney didn't contact the prosecutors because they used that argument again in their detention motion, saying it took him 5 days to turn himself in. And my thinking is usually, and I agree with you, 5 days, not a lot, but usually you're in contact, you're having conversations with the prosecutor, let them know, hey, we're getting things in order, we'll get him in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when I am made aware there's a warrant out and I know there are things my client needs to do, I am going to lift that phone and I'm going to say, hey, look, can you wait a few days? We need to do X, Y, and Z. And if they say, no, we're not going to wait that time, but my client says I need that time, then they are just going to wait because that's what's going to happen, because that's what my clients told me. But they may not have picked up the phone and made that call, which was, kind of his lawyer dropping the ball if that's the case.
Yeah, maybe. All right, stay with us, Jeffrey. Coming up next, we're going to turn back to Texas for more key testimony in the trial against Adrian Gonzalez. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are heading now back to Texas for more key testimony in the trial of Adrian Gonzalez.
Gonzalez was one of the first officers to arrive on the scene at Robb Elementary School in 2022, where a man opened fire, killing 19 students and 2 teachers.
Prosecutors say that Gonzalez stood among more than 400 officers who waited more than 70 minutes before confronting the shooter.
All right, let's get back into court now. Still on the stand is the former sergeant. Now, he's testifying about that chaotic scene, all that he experienced as he arrived on that scene. He's still facing direct by the prosecution.
And you have to move. As soon as you hear going toward the school, you get up and jump in your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in your vehicle?
So the reason why I decided to jump back in my vehicle is because what I thought in my mind was he was running through the school, towards the school.
Okay, that's 2 different things I need to understand. To the school and through the school. I need to understand those 2 things.
Well, I was, again, I'm trying to process what people are yelling behind me while hearing gunfire.
Sure.
My concern is also for their safety and well-being. I'm yelling at them to get back into not knowing that they're trying to pass information on to me. And again, all this that we're talking about everything that we're talking about has happened in a matter of seconds. And so I'm trying to figure out what is going on, where the shots are coming from, in the same time taking rounds, what I perceive taking rounds, and trying to determine where this individual's at. When they yell, he's running towards the school, through the school, they're also quite a distance from me. They're yelling from the door, the front door, so I can't clearly hear exactly what they're saying, but I know that they had said something either through the school or to the school along those lines.
And would you describe their voice? Did it seem like they were excited?
Yes, sir.
Stressful?
Stress, yes, sir.
But you still relied on their information?
I was relying on whatever I could see here and whatever information I could use.
And that's from your 15, 18 years as a police officer?
Yes, sir.
And so you got in your car?
Yes, sir. I got in my Tahoe and I proceeded eastbound towards the front of the school.
And I think I got lost in my own questioning. There was the words to the school and through the school. In your mind, you're making that
Well,
call.
again, because in my mind, I'm responding to this call and I hear gunfire going off. I see officers taking cover. I'm trying to determine. Then I hear individuals behind me yelling, he's running to the school or through the school. And my whole thing is, again, you have to take into account where my mindset was at. I was thinking, okay, I possibly have an individual that got into an accident and is trying to get away from us, trying to shoot at us, and I need to find this guy and stop this guy. So when I figured that he was running through the school, I was going to go around in front and cut him off and flank him.
Okay. So in your mind, because it's either a road rage or a bailout, at that point, hearing shots, dispatch has told you there's shots, and a witness says either to the school or through the school, that's the body of information you have at that time.
Correct.
And so you acted on that information.
Yes.
And you went for the purpose of, why did you drive again? Or where did you drive, I should say, which street?
Well, I drove my Tahoe to the very front of the school. What I was anticipating was this individual was running through the school to go through the school. My intent was to go and flank him and stop him there.
So you're thinking through these
confront him there.
things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you get to the front of the school?
Yes, sir.
When you got to the front of the school, what did you do?
When I got to the front of the school, I saw a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed towards the front of the school where I was parked. Immediately, I had the chief of police for the school district show up, Pete Arredondo.
This was his primary jurisdiction,
Yes, sir.
and he showed up at the front of the school about the same time you did?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, what did you do when you saw that it was Chief Arredondo?
What I saw was Chief Arredondo. I mean, I know him personally. I was relieved to see him. And he's showing up, and so
When you say relieved, why does that relieve you?
Well, just someone that I know. It's just someone that I've worked with him a number of years, and so just seeing someone that I knew. It's not that I didn't know him or know anybody else. It was just for some reason I had someone that was there with me. In other words,
Had you worked with him?
yes, sir, I had.
Were y'all at the same rank when
No,
you
sir.
worked together?
No, sir. He had more time than I was. He was actually acting chief. I'm not sure if he was chief of police of the Uvalde Police Department at one point.
And what was your rank at that time?
A patrol officer.
So he had considerable more experience than you did?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, as in regard to Pete Arredondo, what did you and Pete Arredondo do? Describe that for us.
So immediately we both run towards the school to try to find the individual that was shooting. He's asking me, where's he at? Where's he at? I relay back to him, I have no idea. I don't know. At that point, we run towards, so at Rob's school, there's like a circular drop-off on the very front of the school. And so we went through the front gate through there where they drop off the children. We ran through there and ran underneath the breezeways and ran past the cafeteria and front office, continued running and ran down one of the breezeways. I want to say it was second to the last one, the furthest south.
So this run from the front of the school with Pete Arredondo, on that, were you walking or running?
No, I was running.
And why would you be running?
Well, I was trying to find where this guy was, this guy that was shooting at us.
Was time important?
I would say so, yes, sir.
Okay. And did you gather or get any other information during this route that you just described for us?
No, I was just actively looking, searching for the guy that was shooting at us.
Okay. This might be a good time for you to kind of show us the route that you...
Quickly, Judge, before we go to break, I can't see how this testimony is helping the state at all. It's just adding to this idea that there was chaos and nobody knew what was really going on.
I agree with you. I'm not sure how it helps the defendant at all or is relevant.
No, not the defendant, the state.
I mean the state. I'm sorry, or is relevant to the state's case. Thank you.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have more key testimony in the trial against Adrian Gonzalez. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala here with Judge Ashley Wilcott, and we're in Corpus Christi, Texas, where a former Uvalde school district officer is on trial in connection with the deadly shooting there in 2022. Adrian Gonzalez was the first officer at Robb Elementary School when a former student ran into the school and shot and killed 19 students and 2 teachers.
Prosecutors say Gonzalez did not do enough to stop the shooter and that police waited 77 minutes before entering the classroom to confront the gunman. In court right now, it's a Uvalde police officer who responded to the school. He's on the stand. He's been describing his actions as well as the chaotic scene as he tried to locate the shooter as shots were still being fired.
I'll give you a second to kind of familiarize yourself. And here's because we got jurors that are here all the way to here, so the point of might help you not get in their way.
So
Let's start with where you drove and where you started.
Yes, sir. So this is where this is the direction I came from, and I drove on southbound on South Grove, and when I got about right here, I see the 2 officers that are already parked right there. They're parked facing east, And when I get there, I stop my patrol vehicle there. And it was at that point that I jumped off the vehicle, and like I testified earlier, that's when we were receiving gunfire. The individuals that were yelling are over here at the front of the building. And as I'm getting here, I'm scanning all this area from this all the way to this. In the meantime, I'm receiving what I perceive to be gunfire, rapid gunfire. And I'm looking through all this area trying to see if I can see anything, but it's a considerable distance from here to there. At that point, when I determine, or when I hear the individual say he's running towards the school, I don't know where he's running towards the school, but obviously from where I'm at here, I know he's running eastbound. I know that he's running eastbound. So at that point, I drive my vehicle this way, and I end up parking right here. Chief Arredondo comes and parks right there, and we both run towards the front of the school.
Let me stop you right here. So everything you have just described, was that captured on your dash cam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you get on foot, is that correct?
When I park here, yes, sir, I'm on foot here.
And after you get on foot, then the dash cam doesn't really help us with you.
No, sir. Oh, no, sir, not really. I run through here with myself and Chief Arredondo. This is where the curve, the drop off where the gate is at. I run through this gate and run through this this hallway here. It's an open hallway. It's just like covered. And I run with Chief Arredondo, myself and him, run this way. And I want to say we got to right about here.
Yes, sir.
And at that point, then we start running up westbound towards the breezeway. Well, at this point, we still don't know where he's at, where anything is. We don't know where he's located. It's at this point that I have enough time and I activate my body camera.
So that's where you activate your body camera?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The delay in activating had nothing to do with not wanting people to see what you did?
No, not at all. I mean, again, like I said, prior to me even getting there, that's not the first thought that runs through my head. Before, like I said, before I get off, I even see that officers are already taking gunfire. It'd be nice.
Sure.
So, again, like I said.
Let me stop 1 second, though.
Go ahead.
But I think you also said that when you got on foot, you gathered no other information.
No, sir. While I'm actively searching for the guy, for the suspect, the individual that was shooting at us. As I'm running through here, I'm looking down the breezeways, looking every which way. I still don't know what he's wearing, what he looks like. The only thing that I had heard was he's running towards the school. I get no description of the individual, nothing like that.
And so, where is it again where you activate your body cam?
I'm running through this breezeway right here.
Okay.
Under this building right here.
And so you activate your body cam, and does that thereafter pick up the information during this active shooter situation?
Yes, sir.
And show us, and then I'll sit down and talk about it, but did you end up in the 4th grade wing?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Did you end up in this building?
I did, yes, sir.
By the parking lot?
Yes, sir.
Just show us that route, and then I'll sit down and we can talk about it.
Okay. So as I'm running through this wing, as I said earlier, I activate my body camera, and we're running through the wing, myself and Chief Arredondo, and I notice what individuals over here on the south side of this building. And it's when I get to right about the edge of the building, I hear muffled gunfire. And
do you do anything when you hear the gun? I was going to sit down. If you could just show me the direction you took, then I'm going to sit down and ask you all those questions.
Sure. I continued westbound towards this building, and then that's when I heard the muffled gunfire.
And so where did you enter the building? You did enter a building?
Yes, sir. I proceeded this way after hearing the muffled gunfire and entered the south side of the building, this building here.
And now I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail.
Yes, sir.
Still with us, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf. One thing that Michael mentioned, how is this relevant? And number two, it all happened in a matter of seconds. I think that supports the defense's case that it's hard to say he should have done something differently.
Well, I think what the state is doing is they have to set the scene, right? They have to let the jury know what was happening. And so they can't run from exactly what was going on in this school shooting. And so they just plain have to set the stage for the jury. And I think what the Uvalde school shooting stands for is the proposition that the public was outraged that while this was going on, regardless of how chaotic it was, how dangerous it was for the officers, it was significantly more dangerous for the kids in that school. And I think what the public expects is that if we're going to put the trust that we put in police officers and we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt when they pull their weapons and when they do everything that they do to the public and when they have the power that they have, that when there is gunfire in an elementary school, that they're going to run in and that they are going to face down that danger so that the kids in that school aren't. And that's what this trial is about.
I like
Jeffrey,
that.
That's the fundamental question of the case.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
At the end
That's
of the day. And Jeffrey, you've been in this game a long time. Is that, I mean, they may expect that, and part of that may have to do with who the victims are in this case, but is that reasonable to expect someone like Gonzalez shows up, he's the one there. A teacher comes up and says to him, guy's over there, right? Doesn't have a specific description. He doesn't know if right when he turns the corner, he's gonna get hit with semi-automatic gunfire from an AR-15. He doesn't know which direction these things are coming from. She's no authority on the situation. He has to act the way he thinks is correct. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
It's absolutely reasonable. It's absolutely reasonable. With the power that police officers are given in our society, and with, here's the thing. We talk about first responders and we talk about the respect due to first responders and all they sacrifice and putting their life on the line. And we stand and we give standing ovations at sporting events, and we're supposed to just bow down to them at all times. This is why. Is because when our kids are in a shooting gallery at an elementary school, they're going to run in and do everything they can and lay their life on the line for our kids. Do it.
Fair enough. They have a saying in law enforcement, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
So that flies in the face of what Jeffrey's saying.
Yeah.
So it's what that community thinks is really based on what that jury decides.
Absolutely. And I think the prosecution obviously thinks that as well in pursuing this case. All right, stay with us. Coming up next, we're going to bring more key testimony to you in this trial against Adrian Gonzalez. We'll be right back.